Hello, this is speaker Donghwan Chi, and if you're the member of the AIKU, you may remember the seminar I did before, but said unfortunately the president of AIKU has some issue on the recording, so my seminar was gone, and I feel it was so sad, but I think it's another chance to record my seminar on English. So thank you for listening my seminar once again, and let's start from the sparks of AGI. So let's assume that you are standing on this point in the graph. How do you feel? The man in the graph standing just in front of the singularity of the graph, and the x-axis is the time, and the y-axis is the human progress. And just real time after the human may in the very intense human progress. And how do you feel? It's quite exciting, right? Mm. However, you can see the right part of the graph in the time chart because you can see further in the future. So then how actually the this graph looks like, and just like this, quite normal, right? And boring. But uh, what if that time may be coming, just like you in and you're maybe what if you're just in the edge of the change, and how do you feel, right? How do you feel just in now? And today's discussion topic is artificial general intelligence. Actually, there's not solid and concrete definition of the AGI, but I found some definition in the paper. And first is the oracle, and this is the system that gives you accurate and useful information in all areas. What should focus on this statement is that all areas. As you know, almost every deep learning model is task specific, like image classification or instance segmentation, natural language processing or generation, and all kind of model are very specific to some task. But Asia is different. Asia can do any task in all areas, right? And another definition of the Asia is that AI that can do everything human do. But this statement has some issues, just like how it's hard to define what actually human and what is the human intelligence and what human do. But it's quite a simple definition, but it has some issues, and I think the easiest way to you may understand is that this the opposite of narrow AI. Yes, narrow AI is the every kind of AI that you may know, just like uh, vision model or natural language model. Everything is just narrow AI, and this is in other words is that task specific model. And I bring some scientific fiction example, and this is the picture of Jarvis in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah, like you may know that this is the kind of AGI, and I think you catch the basic concept of the AGI. And why did you bring this topic for today? Actually, AGI was the story in the scientific fiction, and it's not brief discussion on the academic. But I found this paper, and this paper, written by Microsoft Research, and the paper title is Sparks of Artificial General Intelligence and Only Experiment with GPT-4. And this paper is about the GPT-4 may have some. Uh, they introduced some experiment conducted on the GPT-4, and they say that GPT-4 may be the very early version of the AGI. And if you're the member of the AIKU, you may know that I am the big fan of the AGI. So I cannot go through this paper, so I bring the topics. Too long. So this paper is so long. It's 155 pages. So I want to say briefly. First, traditional metric-driven assessment doesn't measure general intelligence. Second, we create a model that is general and good at a variety of things. And third, finally, our GPT-4 is awesome, new horizon for LLMs. And let's talk one by one. Mm, there's some in the you may know that in the classic metrics, you may know many classic metrics, just like precision or error, recall, and accuracy. It could be the classic metrics and well defined on by the math, mm, but this kind of metrics is not quite helpful for measure the general intelligence because the mm, and there's some another issue that which is the memorization. Mm, Almost every large language model are data intensive, so you need to start training on very large scale of image data. But so uh, normally the source of the data is in the internet. But so as you learned before, the data should be divided into train, validation, and test set. The reason why do this is that the final objective of the machine learning is to make good prediction on the unseen data. So, and the test data should be separated from the trained data, unless that overfitting may be the overfitting or some other issues can be driven. So, but almost every LM are training on the web scale data. So there's not sure that the model maybe see the answer on the training data. So it could drive the problem of memorization. So we need some another metric to just a simple mathematical metrics. And in this paper, the writer provides some funny and some novel metrics. And the first is to express the infinity of prime number in poetry, and second is draw a unicorn with AIKU, is which is the graph drawing tool on the LaTeX. And this kind of task is never done before, so it may be the very novel, and it requires the model uh in in its the integrity of the modality. So it could be the measure of the AGI. And let's first start with the express the infinity of the prime number in poetry. And this is the poetry that write GPT-4 about the proof of infinity of primes. I'm not the English native speaker. So I'm not the English native speaker, so I'm not sure that this poetry is written well. But yeah, I just read it several times, and I can feel some rhythms and kind of funny things to done. And this kind of task should be understand and integrate diverse knowledge and context. Actually, prompt is the about mm, the written in poetry, and so the model should understand what is the poetry is and how to make the rhythm and this kind of like multimodality. So various domain of intelligence should be mixed and quite and the GPT-4 quite well on these topics. And the next metrics proposed in the metrics is the draw a unicorn in TIKZ, but it's quite amazing. And next to move to the next metrics, and this is the unicorn that modern GPT-4 draw. Uh, I first time saw this figure in the MIT seminar, and also student of the MIT also left with this figure because the you may see the image generation model like DALL-E or Stable Diffusion. This kind of model also do very well on the drawing images, and this kind of picture is very simplified and not so good at Unicode. But what is the surprising point of this figure is that it was drawn by the multimodal. In other words, just GPT-4, which is the trained only on the pure text data, draw this figure. And first time I didn't understand how this can be done because the text only GPT-4 doesn't how to understand that the vision vision expression and draw this kind of image, then you may think that, as I mentioned before, it could be the memorization, and you can draw the question just like that. Isn't it just copying the training code? But paper also say that this is not the memorization, and the GPT-4 really understand the context of the prompt of prompt of the text. And you can see the right below the figure, there's a man and the shirt. First time the picture is not so good, not aligned well, and but after saying that the face being right above the torso, as arm is not quite in the quite well positioned, then the model understands the things and changes some figure. And even you can say that model to put the shorts and pants, and the model understand the right vision context and put the shorts and pants on the picture. Just like this, that this kind of model really understand the visual embedding token natural language, and it transfer to domain to the vision. And you can see the left figure, the point of the unicorn is the crown of the horse, but as you can see, the GPT-4 really understand the concept of the unicorn and draw it well, and even on the non-multimodal model. And also, GPT-4 evolves there is during training time. And direction and conclusion says that paper proposed such kind of funny metrics to measure the artificial general intelligence, but they need some further topics to discuss. What is the actually AGI is? Actually, we are not sure about what is the intelligence and what is actually done in the brain, but and even harder to say that what is the generality of the AGI. But yeah, so and I can share that the classic metrics, just like precision or accuracy, cannot measure the generality well. So, and also I don't think that this kind of unicorn drawing or poetry writing is quite funny, but it could not be the right metric or some proper metric to the future AGI study. But it's quite funny approach. And what is the path to the more general AI? And success of the large language model draws some change on the vision task, uh, and integrated all the modality to the transformer base to the backbone. And I think this kind of way is quite well until now, but cannot share that this kind of approach is do very well future, and this also could be the discussion topic. What exactly is going on this large language model? Uh, the major problem of the large language model is the black box model, but we cannot share that what is done by the in the model. But there's some proposed conjunction about what is the actually done in the model. Like neural circuit is made in the large language model, so model has some ability to capability to hold such various modality and abilities. So this kind of topics should be discussed further. And but actually I think about this paper, just I'm not quite sure about what is actually talk about. mm, I can see the GPT-4 is very great model, but I cannot sure that this really the sparks of AGI. mm, but I also think this paper was written by Microsoft AI research team, but I think it's just to say that OpenAI is quite do well with GPT-4, so uh, can I seriously believe that this paper is good? But you can see very seriously, but yeah, you can think should think much more about this topic. And let's move to the another topic, which is the multimodal large language model. And I think this kind of model could be the one form of the AGI. Mm, and I would like to propose some model which is named Cosmos One, and this is also written by the Microsoft research team. And in the paper, I quote this sentence that in terms of knowledge occasion and understanding of the real world as a basis for intelligence, multimodal perception is essential to achieving AGI. And I quite this is the quite multimodal perception is proper and good approach of the AGI, because that as you think with the human brain can process all kind of perception, just like vision or language or audio, in just one model, which is brain. So I think should AGI in the AGI study, we should learn more about how to get some this kind of multimodal perception. And Cosmos is the proposed multimodal language model. It has the ability of a large language model, and plus it has the multimodal perception. And you can see in the figure, in the leftmost figure, you can see the famous picture from Wittgenstein. And you ask to the model to was in this picture. It says that dog and and some looks more like a bunny. And in this example, you can see that the Cosmos One model really understand the visual context in, and understand visual context very well. And there's some several examples of Cosmos One. What surprised me is that the figure two first picture, which is the in the left almost picture, the model asked to explain why this photo is funny, and model explained well why this picture is funny. The cat is wearing a mask that gives the cat a smile, and I'm quite surprised that the model really understands why this is the funny picture. Even the Cosmos One may doesn't have the perception of the emotion, but it it truly understands what is the funny, and it can give some proper explanation why this picture is funny. There is some prior research on the Microsoft research, and this is the MLLM. And this is the overview of the MLLM, and it's a semi-causal language model. As you see, there are some various kind of encoder, pre-trained language encoder, and pre-trained multimodal vision language encoder. As you see, the model can process the various type of encoding. As you see in the middle of the figure, the input is put in this model in the patch, just like done in the VIT, and it can be processed in the just one single modified integrated model. And you might wonder, what is the actually semi-causal model, and you can see that causal language model or non-causal language model, just like the GPT or GPT-like or BERT-like, each causal LM and non-causal model. And semi-causal language model is the connection of the causal non-causal language model with causal language model. Then you might bring some question that what is the difference between just classic encoder decoder transformer, vanilla transformer, and then semi-causal language model differences is that some on the decoder, some embedding is just straight put on the decoder, and this is the difference between the vanilla transformer. And how we can process this input representation in one integrated transformer encoder. And it was from the prior research BIT3. Mm, you can see you can see on the right, one shared multi-head self-attention is done on the multimodal input, and some task-specific expert is done on the in after the shared multi-head self-attention is done. And you can see in the figure there are some various type of input is put in the transformer encoder, and according to the type of the input, the task-specific feed-forward network is processed after the shared multi-head self-attention. And also there are several research that how to train this large language model properly, like Magneto or Expose. This kind of research is done as to know how to train large language model properly. But actually, I didn't read them all, so I cannot tell about all about these details. But if you are interested about this topic, you can. It's great to see in this site and read some papers. So this kind of multimodal language could be the way to get to the AGI, because that as the human brain means that one one model can process many perception that could be, and it could integrate various perception. And according to this approach, there are some advanced version of Cosmos 1, which is Cosmos 2, that is that propose that Cosmos 1 and plus that image grounding ability. And what is the image grounding ability is that in the picture there's a dog and flower, and the prompt is the dog, a dog in a field of flowers. And model properly understand the a dog in a field of flower prompt, and then make some grounding box in the picture. And this kind of modality is added on this Cosmos 1 model. So just you can as you can see, this kind of adding some more modality on the based model is the uh, direction of the multimodal language model studies. Um, but sadly, this performance is quite not so good compared to the task-specific fine-tuned model. Uh, but what is the important of this model is just this kind of model can do more general tasks. So, from language model, just simple large language model to multi-language model, the the most important thing is the generality. So I'm quite fascinating about this topic. So if you're interested on this topic also, and just feel free to contact on me. And right picture is the interesting paper that I pick on. And if you're interested on these papers, you can read some of them, or just contact on me, please. So from this about the test about technical topics, and let's move to some uh, quite some scientific fictional topics, but it could be the future of the humanity. So I I hope you to listen quite seriously. And mm, human tend to human tend to predict future very linearly, but it is natural, but because the almost every phenomenon in the nature is linear, so it's natural to predict the future in linear estimation is quite natural thing. But technology is not growth in linearly, because that the accumulation of the technology accelerate to growth of the technology. So technology is grows in exponentially, and you can imagine that the growth in the technology in the between 2000 to 2020 is could be much more than um, starting from the humanity to the 2000s. And so there's some tend to underestimate to the future. But this kind of underestimation could be problematic because that it could for now the all AI intelligence is not comparative to human intelligence. It's quite dumb, and you can see that silly AI models, but AI is grows in exponentially. So in very near day than you expected, the AGI could be exceed your human level of intelligence, and this kind of this kind of story is the on intelligent explosion. And what what is done after this intelligence explosion, and it is called like artificial super intelligence, like ASI, aka ASI. mm, let's imagine that you are trying to explain how to build this kind of building to the ants, and the ants never understand how to build their building because the intelligence differences between ant and human is so big, and ants cannot understand anything. But super intelligence could be much smarter compared to a human compared to the differences between ants and human. So so this kind of intelligence is never uncontrollable. It's just a, it's just like a silly story, like ants can control the humanity, but someday the mm, human really concerned about that. Human If the human brain becomes smart enough to create any ASI, and it could be some tree-wire to and bootstrap to make some ASI, and it could be make some much more intelligent things than human beings. But you can imagine that this kind of story is quite unrealistic because that you can think that data is the only the fraction of the world, and you try to make from this fraction to make some goal, which is the model that is that useful and helpful for in our life. And I think this is quite similar to alchemy, but that the data, which is the stones, which is the data in nowadays, and the model is the gold in the nowadays. But and the AJ or ASI is the redstone that we are trying to figure out. But as I understand that you might think that these kind of stories are very unrealistic and unreliable. But there are some people seriously concerned about this topic, even OpenAI. This is from the OpenAI blog, and OpenAI says that governance of super intelligence is needed. As you see, the super intelligence is not uncontrollable. So it could be the last chance to control the artificial intelligence. So I hope you to really concerned about this topic and worry and some feel excited about this topic. And this is my references, and thank you for listening.